Hi, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to our first class, our first Twitch live stream. This is for my intro psych classes. My name is Elisa Setmire, and I am your instructor for this 8-week semester course. I see a bunch of you getting logged in and joining me. This is Twitch. Can you all hear me and see me okay? Could somebody let me know in the chat? Your chat is your best way to communicate with me during this. You can ask questions or let me know if you have anything. Perfect. Okay, great. Lots of you are saying all good. And yes, I was having some internet issues. I'm on campus and we don't always have the best internet. So I'm glad everything seems to be working all right. As I said, good morning. This is live stream number 1. If you haven't already, make sure at some point you put your first and last name in the chat. Unless you are subscribed, then you don't need to worry about it because I can download your names later. So anyway, good morning. What I want to do today is kind of take a little bit of time to go over our course, make sure that you know what to expect for the semester. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to ask me questions if you have them related to anything with the class. So I'm just going to kind of go over everything, go over the reminders, and this live stream will probably be a little bit longer than normal. Normally we'll be at like about 30 minutes or so. Today we'll probably go a little over just since we're talking about how to set up the class. So as I said, my name is Elisa Setmire. I'm your instructor. You can call me Elisa. You can call me Professor Setmire. Totally up to you, but welcome. I'm glad that so many of you are on here with me right now. That's fantastic. And if you're watching this later, that's totally fine as well. So right here, hopefully you can see my page. I am on our Canvas webpage. If you made it to here, you're probably in pretty good shape. Most everything is either here or on the ebook site, which we'll get to in a little bit. So you can see right here, there's a little description. There's a link to announcements, a link right here to the ebook site. And then underneath that, you can see all the little modules that we have. So starting here with the mandatory orientation, there's some instructor contact information, help and campus resources, course documents and videos. And then after that, we just have all of the different weeks of the class, and everything that you need for that week is organized under that folder. So let's go ahead and see, start here where it says start here, and we'll go over the mandatory orientation just a little bit. I'll go over the syllabus. And again, if at any point you have any questions, since I can't see you, please feel free to put them in the chat and I would be happy to answer them for you. So right here you can see the mandatory orientation lecture, and then there's a little quiz and a discussion. If you go all the way up, you'll see the syllabus and a bunch of other information. I'll start there, and actually let's start with the syllabus. Might as well, since that makes the most sense. Make sure that you read through all these things on your own. I'm just going to kind of highlight some important pieces of them, but make sure that you do read through them. You can see here I have 2 classes that are both meeting right here at the same time. So some of you are in 31052 and some of you are on 31109, but you're doing the exact same thing. Both of them are intro psych. And you can see my name and my email, my office, and the best way to get a hold of me, which is always going to be email. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I check my email all the time, and I will try my best to get back to you quickly. You can always make an appointment to meet with me, either virtually or in my office if you would like. Either one is totally fine. There's some information here about the department chair, the dean, and all of that, and a description. I'm going to let you look over all that on your own just for the sake of time. But I want to talk a little bit about the textbook. So you do need a required book for this class. And I know that textbooks are expensive. I went through many, many years of college, so I understand. But you will need this book, and you'll be using it constantly. So the book is called Psyched, and you'll notice it's actually something that I wrote. It took me a couple of years to do, and we're in the 4th edition, and I'll show you where you can purchase that and how you can access that in a little bit. But if you haven't already purchased it, it's something you are going to need to get as soon as possible, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. You might want to consider downloading the Canvas app or maybe even the Twitch app on your phone or computer or tablet. It's going to be something that we use a lot and might be really handy for you. And then you're also going to want consistent access to a computer with the internet or a tablet with the internet to allow you to access everything online. I have a bunch of like codes of conduct and policies. I want this to be a wonderful class. I hope it's a really safe space where you feel comfortable sharing. You're going to be posting things on discussion forums and interacting with me and your classmates. So let's always try to be really mindful and respectful of each other. Another really big part of this for me is late work. I'm very strict about late work. The way that this class is set up is you have access to 2 weeks of material at a time. And because it's only an 8-week class, I thought it might be nice to have that flexibility. So for example, right now you have access to week number 1 and week number 2. And so you have an incredible amount of flexibility with that. So there really shouldn't be any reason that you aren't able to meet those 2-week deadlines. You can do any of those materials at any point during those 2 weeks. So if you find that something comes up, if you find that you have an emergency or you need an extension, if you reach out to me before the deadline, I am happy to work with you and give you an extension. If you reach out to me at 12:01 Monday morning and it's past the deadline, it's unfortunately always going to be too late. So if something comes up, even if you email me at 11:58 p.m. on Sunday night, it's still before the deadline. I'm happy to work with you, but I'm really, really consistently strict about that. If you email me after the deadline, unfortunately, it will be too late. So just something to keep in mind as we go through the class. If something comes up, totally happens, just make sure you reach out to me ahead of time. Please don't copy or cheat. Give me all your own beautiful creative work. There's some stuff here about Title IX and sexual misconduct and smoking. I'll let you read over that on your own. Let's talk a little bit about what makes up the grade in this class. So the first thing is you do have a little required orientation quiz. And that is on the ebook site. I'll show you that more in a little bit, but it's up here under exams on the ebook site. And that is due by tonight at 11:59 p.m. So if you haven't already purchased your copy of the book, make sure that you do that as soon as possible, as that is due by tonight. If you don't take it by tonight, I'm going to assume you haven't logged in, you haven't purchased your book, and you are at risk of being dropped from the class. You'll probably get an email from me tomorrow with a drop warning. So please try and do that by tonight. You'll be doing 2 discussions for every week, and that makes up a really big part of your grade. So as part of this week, you'll do like a little introductions discussion, and then every week you'll do 2 of them worth up to 15 points. 13 points for your responses to my questions, and then 2 for your responses to a classmate. So really make sure that you're putting a lot of effort into these. They should be very well thought out. We'll look at one of these in a little bit so you can kind of see what that looks like. You'll be doing a couple of little self-assessments in here where you kind of evaluate your progress on things so far in the class. You'll be doing a closing assignment, and then you'll take 4 exams, each worth 75 points. And so what I will typically do in these live streams, this one's a little different because it's week 1. But normally what I'll do is I'll kind of talk about what's due this week, and I'll go over some reminders. On exam weeks, we'll talk about some tips for exams. You can ask me questions about study guide stuff if you have them. For now, I'm just kind of making sure you understand the format and structure of the class. But these exams will be worth 75 points each. You get 1 attempt at them. They are on the ebook site, so you do need the ebook in order to take them. And you can use your notes, you can use your book. You'll also have a study guide. So next week when we meet for week number 2, I'll talk quite a bit about exam number 1, and we'll go over all of that. But know that they are on the ebook site. I'll set you up for success, but it will be really important that you're studying and preparing. You can see the distribution of points for your grade. If you have a memo with access, please try to make sure that you get that to me as soon as possible so I can get you the extra time that you need or whatever accommodations you need set up. There's some stuff about student tech support and college information. And then after that, you'll just see the assigned schedule of like what we'll be covering. And you'll notice, as I said on here, you have access to 2 weeks of materials at a time. So as of Monday morning, weeks numbers 1 and 2 opened up for you. And so you can see what you are in charge of reading for these 2 weeks, what your assignments are. And I'm going to be going 1 week at a time in these live streams. But if you wanted to work ahead and do week number 2, it is open for you. And weeks 1 and 2 are all due by Sunday, 1/21 at 11:59 p.m., with the exception of that little mandatory orientation quiz, which is due by tonight. So what you'll see is that each week you're basically reading 2 chapters in the ebook, and then you're completing 2 discussions, and then every second week you have an exam. So we kind of follow a very similar format. Hopefully that consistency makes it easy to remember. There's a couple of other little things sprinkled in, like a self-assessment in week number 3, and there's another one in week number 5. But for the most part, we follow a very consistent format of 2 discussions and 2 chapters every week. And then the second week of the 2 weeks, you have 2 discussions, 2 chapters, and an exam. So hopefully that makes sense, and you can see all of the dates that are lined up here for you. And then our class ends in March on a Friday, which is a little random, but that's whatever the class schedule is set. So I'll remind you a bunch of times when we get closer. But those are some of the highlights of the syllabus. Are there any questions for now about the syllabus? I know I kind of glossed over some things. I'm just trying to make sure you get the big key points. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll wait just a second just to make sure. And if you think of something later, you can always put it in the chat, or you can always email me if you're watching this later on. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll go back to the homepage and we'll take a look at, the mandatory orientation and some of the other pieces that are here. I'm not seeing anything yet, so I'm going to keep going. But if you think of something, obviously feel free to put it in the chat. But here's the mandatory orientation. So after you've looked over the syllabus, what you'll want to do is make sure you go through this little lecture, and then here's the quiz. So the mandatory orientation lecture is going to go over a lot of the stuff that we kind of highlighted in the syllabus. And what you'll notice is it follows this little 5-tab format up at the top. So don't forget to click on each one. You'll also notice that I've recorded the audio. So if you'd like to listen to it instead of having to read it, that's something you can totally do. So my audio is right here, and it's just me reading what's on the page. So you can either read it or listen to it, or both. So what you want to do is read or listen to all of the pages, read through the syllabus, complete that mandatory orientation quiz that we'll talk more about later. You'll want to find me on YouTube and find me on Twitch. And some of you have already done this, which is fantastic. But what you'll notice is I use a lot of videos in this class. And then I'm using Twitch. It's normally something used for video games. And sadly, we won't be playing any video games. But it is a wonderful platform for live streaming and a great chance for you to meet with me live and ask me some questions. So what I'd like to ask you to do, if you can, and you're welcome to do this while we're meeting right now, please make sure you find me on YouTube. My channel is called Psyched with Setmire, kind of connecting to the textbook. And you'll want to subscribe. That's easy and free to do, but that way you know when I post any videos. It's very easy to find my content. And I'd also really love to ask you to find me and subscribe on Twitch. Now, I know Twitch is a little bit harder to navigate, and some of you are maybe more familiar with it than others. It also is something that could cost money. Now, I don't want you to be paying money if you don't have to. If you have an Amazon Prime account, or anyone in your family has an Amazon Prime account, you can actually subscribe for free for 30 days. And then you can just renew it once a month when it expires. But the reason that I'd like to ask you to do this, there's a couple actually. The first one is that whenever I'm online, you get a notification. And when you subscribe, it is exponentially easier for me to track your attendance and participation. So I have 7 classes that I teach. I have like over 300 students. And so when I'm going through and trying to connect your name to your account, it takes a lot of time. Versus if you're subscribed, then it makes it where I can just download your names. So it saves me so much time, and I really appreciate your help in making that a little bit easier and saving me that time. You also can privately chat with me. You get a little football cake next to your name, which I think is probably, in my opinion, the most fun parts. And then you also get less ads during your stream. There might be one in the beginning, but after that you shouldn't have any. And you can tell that you're subscribed if you look at the chat right here. See how this person right here Alexandra, I see how you have your little football cake and the crown. That means that you're subscribed. If you just have the little crown, you have one more step to do, and I can show you what that is later. But it really does make a big difference. And the last piece, and this might be really important for some of you who aren't able to join me live, is that if you want to be able to watch the live streams later and still be able to get extra credit for joining me and answering a question, you do need to be subscribed. That's my only way of like tracking your participation. And so if you go through the process of doing that, you don't have to join me live. You can always watch this later, which I'd imagine a lot of you maybe have class or work or things at this time, and that gives you a little bit of flexibility. So there's instructions right here. There's a whole page where I walk you through like step by step by step how to do that, how to connect your account for free. It looked like Tater Tots. I love that. That's a cute name. Just figured it out. Again, you're welcome to do it now or you can do it later. But I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. The next page here is a little bit about how the course is organized. Right, so as I mentioned, you'll read 2 chapters per week. There'll be a lecture for each chapter, a lecture video for each chapter, and then there'll be 2 discussions. So every week you want to make sure you do everything that's organized under that folder. I love tater tots too, right? They're always very, very delicious, right? I could go for a tater tot, though I'm much more of a chocolate cake fan. I have a big sweet tooth. So you'll want to read the lectures, watch the lecture video, and do the discussions. You'll take an exam every other week. There'll be a couple of self-assessments and a closing assignment like we just talked about. And everything is organized under its weekly folder, which will hopefully make things very easy to remember. I gave you a little page with some information about me. As I said, my name is Elisa Setmire. I'm a huge football fan. I absolutely love fantasy football. I was a big Tom Brady fan for years, and now he's retired, so I don't know what I'm doing with myself. But I play a lot of football, fantasy football. I'm a big fan of escape rooms. I love the holidays. I have a few shows that I put on here that I love. Watching Peaky Blinders right now. I'm kind of into that. That's fun. Love anything related to food. Big fan of cake and candy. I have a bunch of cats. If I'm ever live streaming from home, you might see them. But I give you a little bit about me just so that you'd have some information and know who is teaching the class. There's a page about computer and internet help. If you're struggling with like any of your settings or things are blocked, you might just kind of double check that you have all these things set. And then finally, the last page has some stuff about help. If you're struggling with Canvas, there's a number for Canvas support. If you are struggling with the ebook, like maybe you have a hard time logging in or something is going on there, there's a phone number and email. And you can always email me as well if you have questions, but I wanted to give you a couple of numbers that are really helpful if you are struggling. Yeah, it was a tough year for the Patriots. Oh, lifelong Lions fan. The Lions have been pretty good. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's so fun to watch. Peaky Blinders is a great show. I'm loving it. You watched it 3 times. That's amazing. Right? I am on season 3 right now. We've been binge watching it. I think we've watched the first 2.5 seasons in like 3 days. So I have definitely been enjoying that. And then I love Top Chef and I love Naked and Afraid. I've got lots of fun shows and definitely enjoying Peaky Blinders right now. So again, just a little bit about me, some highlights of the class. Make sure that you read everything that's in here and kind of listen to everything. It's gonna help you kind of be comfortable and know what to expect. All right. Any questions about the little orientation module or the syllabus? Anything we've covered so far before I go over some other stuff? There's so many things on here. I made a lot of videos to try and help you, so hopefully all of you are feeling pretty good. But any questions about anything so far? Yeah, so Scarlett, you just asked, is this where you're supposed to talk? You can do that there, or you can just do it in the group chat. Either one is totally fine. All right. You named one of your dogs Mr. Shelby. Oh, that's cute. Not Tommy or Arthur. Right, I love it. It's a great show. I like it. It makes me want to dress up like one of them for Halloween or something. They have such cool clothes. I love their clothes. Right. All right, so if you're on this page, we looked at the mandatory orientation. If you click on modules over here on the left, here, let me move the screen over just a touch so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. That should help. If you click on modules over here on the left-hand side, it's going to bring up all of this information that's here, and you could see it earlier, but here's the syllabus that we went over. I did send out a little welcome letter, so I put that here in case you missed it. There's some information here about the textbook. Let's talk about the book for a minute. As I mentioned, you do really need to get a copy of this book as soon as possible. Here's the purchase link. I know that textbooks are expensive. This one is really, really reasonable, and a big part of that is because I wrote it. And so the average intro psych textbook is like $250 to $300. This one is only $87. You do need to get the ebook. And the reason for the ebook is that it allows you to access all of the exams, all of the information, and it connects really nicely that we're taking and doing an online class. So make sure that you purchase and register this right away if you haven't already. When you register it, make sure you pick the right class. You're all in intro psych, but some of you are in 31052 and some of you are in 31109. So just make sure that you register it to the right section so that everything matches up. But get your copy of the book right away. You're going to use it all the time. As I put here, I cannot stress it enough. You have to have the book. And that deadline is tonight for the orientation quiz. There's some information here about how to purchase, register, and access the book. I gave you a discussion rubric and sample. I made a video overview if you're still feeling a little overwhelmed after this. There's some frequently asked questions that I put together. These are things that people ask me every semester, and I thought it might be nice to put them all together. There's a little student lounge that you can even join. This is just like a discussion forum, but all of you can chat with each other. If you wanted to meet in here or talk about things in here, that's something you could totally do. There's some information. Here's the page about how to subscribe to my Twitch and YouTube channels. And again, I feel bad like asking you to go through those steps, but they're really important. I do use YouTube a ton. I'm using Twitch a lot. And so here are the step-by-step instructions for how to find me and subscribe on Twitch. And I tried to kind of give you arrows and step-by-step because it's a few things that you have to do. And then I even found a little video that might be helpful for you. But really important to find me on these platforms. Just increases your ability to interact with me and be successful. And as I said, if you are able to figure out the subscription piece, it gives you the flexibility of watching it later and also me the ability to download your names. So thank you for figuring that out. There's some stuff about technology and Canvas, how to find your grades, some student services and psych major information, and then it gets into the content. Right, so here's the mandatory orientation stuff, and then week number 1 and week number 2 and so on. And so as you can see, weeks 1 and 2 are open. And then when these 2 weeks end, week 3 and 4 will open next. So let's take a minute and go look at the quiz. So once you have looked at the syllabus and the orientation lecture, you've purchased and registered your book, then you can go on to the ebook site. And I know it's not maybe the most friendly to log into. You get to this page and it's a little weird. So you click on view this publication and make sure, as I mentioned, that you select the right section. There's so many of them, but make sure you select the right one. And then it'll take you to our welcome page. So this is the ebook site. This is a textbook that, as you can see, I wrote. Very proud of that. And so there's a welcome page with a little video where I went through everything. Up here at the top, hopefully you can see that. Let me move this down one more time so that you can hopefully see it a little bit better. Up at the top up here, you can see there's a link to all the different chapters, additional resources, exams, and then a little temporary grade book. So if you click on chapters, that's where you can find all of the chapters in the textbook. So here are chapters 1 through 16. And if we pick one, let's pick, consciousness. That's a fun one. If you click on the chapter, it'll take you to the textbook. And you'll see there's like the outline, the learning objectives, a little summary, and then it just gets right into the material. And this is all like what you would read. You should definitely be reading these things as we go along. There's images in here and then little boxes to apply it if you wanted to. Some little boxes on things like cat naps and again apply it. And so it's just a traditional chapter with all the images and everything in here. And so read through these every week. Make sure you're doing that. At the very end, when we get there, slowly, we're getting there, there's always going to be like some in pop culture links. There's going to be a link to like a Psyched with Setmire lecture that I made, some application stuff. This one's about dreams, which are super interesting. And so this is your opportunity to kind of explore the content, and then all the key terms are at the very end. So that is one of the chapters, for example. Sorry, I'm going to scroll back up to the top here. So all of the chapters for the ebook are on here. There's some additional resources that are on here that you may or may not ever use. There's some little flashcards for each chapter, which are kind of handy. There's some test yourself activities that you can do. On a couple of the different chapters, you can do some little drag and drop activities to test yourself. And then there's also the exams. And so this is where you're going to take the mandatory orientation quiz, and every other exam that you take in this class will also be on this website. So there's some instructions here. So for this little quiz, you have 15 minutes. You get one attempt. When we get to the exams, they're longer. And we'll talk about that next week. Just trying to kind of keep it limited this week. But you get one attempt. You can use your notes. You can use your book. Let's open this up so I can show you what this looks like. So when you're ready, you'll click Begin Your Attempt. And then you can see the little clock will start to count down. You have 15 minutes. It'll give you a list of how many questions. This one's real short. It's all about the syllabus and the mandatory orientation lecture. So for example, if you miss an exam or discussion, it can be made up the following week. That is false. And then you would hit Save Answer. And see, now once you've answered that, it turns like an orange color. There's one required ebook for this class. True. Save. Right? And so with all of these, you got to make sure you save it. You want to make sure they're all like an orange color before you hit submit. Let's say you don't know the answer to this one. You could skip it and go to number 4, and then it shows up as gray. Or number 5, which of the following is not true? That I hate football. I most definitely do not hate football. And then you would hit save. Right? So once you've gone through all of them, and I've given you a couple of freebies here, you'll hit submit for a grade. And it will give you a score instantly. And so you can see I got a shameful, 3 out of 10 on the test. I mean, I only attempted 3, but I only got 3 out of 10. You can see the ones you got right, the ones you got wrong. One little note to keep in mind, your scores do not automatically come over to Canvas. So if you don't see a grade in Canvas, don't stress. Once the deadline is passed, I'll bring all the scores over, but they don't come over automatically. So there is a little grade book on the ebook site up here at the top. And so you can always see your score before I've brought it over. But as long as you see it on here, you're in really good shape. So the big thing is obviously make sure you take this orientation quiz before tonight at 11:59 p.m. Read the chapters that are on here. You're going to be using this site a lot. And the link to it, if you remember, is right on the home page. And so you might want to save this as like a bookmark, but the link to it is right here if you forget. Okay, so explore all of the things under modules. Make sure you look at them all. Look at all these different resources and videos I have for you. Click on all of these. Find, figure out how to subscribe and find me on Twitch and YouTube sometime today, ideally, if you haven't already. When you're ready, you can take that quiz. You can click here and it will remind you to go to the ebook site to take it. You can also do that introductions discussion, and then you're ready to start on week number 1. And if I'm only going to talk about week number 1 this week, next week I'll talk about week 2 and exam 1 and all of that stuff. But just to keep it a little shorter, I'm going to talk about just week number 1. And what I will do at the end of every live stream is I will give you an extra credit question. And I'll show you where you can answer it to get 2 points for joining me live. Or if you're watching this later as a recording, you can still answer those questions and get the points if you are subscribed. So again, one more reason to kind of figure that out. So each week, as you can see here, you have chapters 1 and 2. So 2 chapters. And for each chapter, you're going to want to do 3 things. So you're going to want to read the chapter in the ebook. And remember, those are here on the ebook site. So you're going to want to read chapters 1 and 2. And then I made a lecture and a lecture video. So all three of those together are going to give you a really good, kind of overview of the materials. And there's definitely some overlap, but I think that's a good thing. So after you've read the chapter, you could read through the lecture. The lecture is that same 5-tab format. I've recorded it if you'd like to listen. Page 1 is always like objectives and summary. Page 2 is beyond the book. And so like I might give you things like little videos that I made or videos that I would have shown in class. Anytime I give you a video, be sure to watch it, right? It might be something that appears on the exam. If there are links, explore them. The more that you click and explore and do all those things, the better you're going to understand the materials. Page 3 is pop culture. So here's some in pop culture kind of connections, things that you can see in the media. The next one is always about, I think this is page 4, sorry, is going to give you the terms that you need to know for the exam. And then the last page is going to be application. Now that you've read all this, how could you apply it and use it in your life in some way? So just make sure, again, you click on everything, explore all the links. You'll also want to watch the lecture video. So what I typically do is make like a 20-30 minute video kind of highlighting some of the key topics. It'll either be a YouTube video or a Zoom link, either one. But you're going to want to watch, take notes. This is all the stuff that's going to appear on the test. So it should be really, really helpful for you in understanding all of the materials. And you'll want to do the same thing for chapter 2. So again, read the ebook, read the lecture, watch the lecture video for every chapter. Then typically you'll have 2 discussions. You can see here's the extra credit question, which I'll give you in a little bit. And then here's where the recording will be once we have finished, if you want to go back and watch it again later. But let's take a look at the discussion since we haven't looked at those yet. Each discussion will have the exact same formatting. So what you'll notice is up here at the top, I have some reminders. You're going to want to always watch my little videos. I made these little intro videos. Some of them are a little old. This one's my hair is all short. So a couple of years ago for sure. But you're going to want to watch the little videos. I'm going to give you some tips and overviews and pointers. And then answer all of my questions, which are right below the video. And your answers to my questions are worth up to 13 points. And then you get 2 points for responding to one classmate. Be sure to be really detailed in your responses. This is really a chance for you to show off your understanding and comprehension. Show me that you get it. Show me that you can apply the information. I think if you think of them more like little mini papers, that might make it easier. I'm looking for roughly like a paragraph or so for each question I give you. If you'd like to see a sample, I gave you a sample and like a little rubric with some tips. And then you're going to want to read through some of your classmates' responses and reply to one of them. So I give you the same instructions every time, trying to keep it consistent. Watch my video, and then discussion 1 is on chapter 1. So here are my questions to you. And what you'll do when you're ready is you'll hit reply. And you can see a few people did that, like Ross replied right here, and then Caden replied to Ross, right? And so you can see, kind of get an idea of what other people are saying, read through theirs, and you're going to want to respond not only to me, but to one of them as well. All right, so that's discussion 1. And then discussion number 2 is on chapter 2. And so if you click on that, same thing. Here's all the same instructions, 15 points. Here's my video, and then here is the prompt. And this one's about chapter 2 and research methods. And look, Ross, you did it first time for both, right? And then no one has responded quite yet to that, which is fine. We're only on day 3. So the discussions, again, really try and think about them like little papers, put a lot of effort and detail into them. And then don't forget to reply to a classmate and watch my little videos as well. And what you'll see is once the 2-week period of time has ended, that Monday following the deadline, I will grade everything. I'll send you feedback. You can always find your grades on here as well. And if you find that you're missing a couple of points, hopefully that feedback will be helpful for you moving forward. You can always reach out to me if you have questions about anything related to the class. I am here. I'm a real person. You can also ask me during these live streams. It's a great opportunity to interact with me. And then the last thing I'll do every week is I'll give you an extra credit question. So let me go ahead and see if, and some reminders. So I have some reminders for you. Let me see if any of you have any questions for me while I'm putting these reminders. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. First reminder is, and I'll remind you of this every week, please try to take a moment to figure out that subscription if you can. The next reminder, I'm going to put this in the chat, our week number 2 live stream will be on Wednesday, January 17th at 11:30 a.m. So unless something comes up or changes, I will try to have these live streams every Wednesday at 11:30. So you can try and plan on that for consistency. And if you have a class or you work and can't make it, that's why they're recorded, and I will post those recordings. So don't stress, that's totally okay. And if you are subscribed, you can still answer the extra credit question, which I'm going to give you right now. I always write them out ahead of time for myself. So here's the question for this week, and I will show you where you can answer that. So this is the week number 1 Twitch extra credit question. And the question for this week is, what does the phrase correlation versus causation mean? Describe and give me an example. So correlation does not equal causation, or correlation versus causation. And when you're ready to answer this, and I just put it in the chat here for you, you're going to go onto Canvas. And since we're in week number 1, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 1 right here. And then up at the top, there's an option to click start assignment. And that's what you're going to click right here. And that's going to bring up this little box where you can type your response to my question. And then you'll scroll down and hit submit. And when you hit submit, you get like a little confetti burst, and for those pinwheels, it's always something different. So you can look forward to that every week. But I have some reminders here. This is worth 2 points, and I would really encourage you to take advantage of this. I don't offer any extra credit outside of these little extra credit Twitch opportunities. And those 2 points, if you did it every week, would add up to 16 points. If you miss a discussion, that's a discussion right there. Or it could be maybe you lost a couple of points on a few things, that would make up for it. It would take pressure off an exam, or maybe make up for like a low exam score. And again, if you can't join me live, as long as you're subscribed, you can still do this later. Or if you're with me now, make sure you put your first and last name in the chat so I know you're here. Unless you're subscribed, then I don't need to worry about that. But really, really good opportunity for you to get a couple of bonus points every week. And these are due by the end of our 2-week period that we are in. So I'll have one for this week and then one next week. And we'll do this every week as long as technology and everything is willing. So I know I have talked an absolute ton. It will normally be a little bit shorter than this, but I want to make sure that you're feeling as good as possible about the class. I've been teaching online now for like 15 years. I'm a very meticulously organized person. So I hope you're feeling like everything is clear and set. If you're not feeling clear about the class, you can always reach out to me. Really do, though, explore all of these resources that I've given you in modules. There's letters and videos